Welcome to Keto Meals and Recipes.com. Today's recipe is a really easy to make, no-bake berry lemon yogurt mousse cake, which, by the way, I would like to credit Ella from Home Cooking Adventures for the inspiration for this recipe. Since her recipes are not keto, I have adapted this to be both keto, sugar-free, and gluten-free, as all my recipes are. And the other adaptation I have made to this version is I have made this crustless. You may be wondering why I chose not to add a crust, and that's because the berries, as all fruit, are fairly high in carbs, and there's a trade-off in what you do with a recipe to stay within a good carb limit. Therefore, by omitting the crust, I have been able to keep the total carbs at a fairly reasonable level. And by making this mousse a crustless dessert, you can enjoy a larger slice. And if you're wondering, this crustless version of a mousse cake does hold up very well. It can be sliced cleanly and easily and holds together when you serve it. And that's because there's a bit of gelatin in each of the two layers, and the gelatin binds everything together very nicely. As I mentioned, the berries really do contribute a fair bit of carbs to the total recipe, so I'm going to provide you with a fully garnished version and the naked version, which does not have the berries on top. Now here are the macronutrients for both versions of this delicious dessert. The macronutrient ratio for the no-bake berry yogurt mousse cake with the full fruit garnish is 2.4 to 1, with 10.6 grams of total carbs, 2.6 grams of dietary fiber, resulting in 9 grams of net carbs per serving. That's with all the berries. If, however, you want to omit the fresh berries altogether, the macronutrient ratio is 3.0 to 1, with 7.7 grams of total carbs, 1.4 grams of dietary fiber, resulting in 6.3 grams of net carbs per slice. And I assure you, you will enjoy every single carb in this dessert. Now, before starting this recipe, first, there are a couple preparatory steps you should do. Begin by lining a 9-inch or 22 to 23 centimeter round springform pan with parchment paper. You do the bottom and the sides. And I also like to prepare my gelatin ahead of time, which will give it time to bloom. Also prepare the gelatin for both the lemon and the berry mousse layers. To get the gelatin going, get a small bowl, add the tap water and the gelatin powder. Stir very well until the gelatin is completely dissolved, and then just set it aside. It'll take about 10 to 15 minutes for the gelatin to bloom fully. And since we're at it, we might as well make the second batch of gelatin, which we will need for the lemon layer. Just do exactly as we did with this first batch of gelatin. And now it's time to prepare the berry sauce. To a small pan, add either fresh or, as I'm choosing to do, frozen mixed berries. This container of mixed berries I'm using has blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries. Then also add your fresh lemon juice and your sweetener, which you ground to a fine confectioner powder. Place your saucepan on the stovetop if you haven't already, and set the element to medium-high. Then stir everything very well. Continue cooking until the berry sauce is boiling lightly, and at that point you can set the timer for 15 minutes. You don't have to stir continuously, but come back every few minutes or so and give it a light stir. After your 15 minutes of cooking, remove the pan from the stovetop. Although in some recipes I like to maintain the berry seeds, I think for this particular recipe and to get the best texture and mouthfeel, it's important to strain out all the berry seeds. So place a fine mesh sieve over a medium bowl, pour the cooked berry sauce into the sieve. Then I use a silicone spatula to press the berries into the bottom and side of the sieve. I will not deny that this is a bit of work. It'll take you several minutes to get all the berries properly mashed through the sieve, but it is well worth it, because the goal is to get as much of the smooth berry mixture through the sieve, but remove all of the seeds. As I mentioned, you do want a very smooth but thick sauce. Now that I'm finished straining, my sauce is still quite warm, and I'm going to take my gelatin and just dump it into the berry sauce. You don't have to pre-melt the gelatin for this step because the berry sauce is still warm and the gelatin will melt very nicely. Just stir until everything is well combined. At this point, I'm going to remove and reserve about half a cup of this berry sauce. You will need this a little bit later as one of the layers. Having done that, set the bowl with the berry sauce and your half cup aside. You want them to cool completely to room temperature. And in the meanwhile, it's time for the next step, which is to make the lemon yogurt mousse layer. I hope you have a lot of bowls because you're going to go through a few of them for this recipe, because at this point you need another large bowl. To this mixing bowl, add the plain Greek full-fat yogurt, the powdered sweetener, and the lemon juice. Now it's time to get the gelatin. However, for this layer, you do have to dissolve the bloom gelatin, so heat it up over low heat until it has completely melted and let it cool to room temperature. Don't pour in the hot gelatin, then pour the room temperature liquid gelatin over your yogurt mixture while you're whisking continuously. It's really important that you whisk as you pour this in so that you don't get little gelatin clumps in your mousse mixture. Here we need yet another bowl, to which you add your heavy whipping cream, and you whip this cream to a soft peak stage. Then pour your whipped cream into the bowl with the yogurt mixture and fold or whisk to combine. I wanted this layer to have a tarty lemony taste, but I didn't want to add too much lemon juice because by adding too much more liquid to this layer, your mousse layer would not set properly and it would be too runny. So instead, I'm going to enhance the lemon flavor by using this optional real lemon powder. I'll provide a link for this product and anything else I mentioned, including the link for the written recipe, in the description below. I really like this real lemon powder and have used it in quite a number of my recipes. It's a great product. It doesn't dilute your mixture, just enhances the flavor, and it really tastes like fresh lemons. Okay, after sprinkling the powder all over my yogurt mixture, just stir or whisk well to combine. Now that your lemon yogurt mousse layer is done, pour it into your parchment-lined springform pan. Then put it into your freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes. You want it to firm up a bit before adding the next layer. And when it's firm, it makes it much easier to add the layers and keep everything nice and level. My lemon mousse layer has set enough that it's now time to pour the 1/2 cup of saved berry sauce over this lemon mousse layer. To even out your berry sauce, just tilt it from side to side so that the sauce spreads out over the entire surface of the lemon mousse. Put the pan back in the freezer for another 10 minutes. In the meantime, you have just enough time to make the last layer, the berry yogurt mousse. So get the bowl with the berry sauce mixture, and to that add your yogurt and whisk to combine. If you still have it handy, reuse the bowl that you used when you made your first batch of whipped cream, or in a separate bowl, whip the heavy whipping cream to soft peak stage and add this whipping cream to the berry sauce. Stir or whisk everything until it's well combined and you see that the color is uniform and homogeneous. Then get your pan from the freezer. Pour the berry mousse over the lemon mousse and berry layer, smooth by tilting and gently tapping on the pan. And that's all there is to making the 3 layers of your yogurt mousse cake. Because this mousse cake is still quite soft and not set, you have to refrigerate it for a minimum of 6 hours, but for the very best results, please leave it overnight. That will allow the gelatin to set properly and for the texture to be absolutely perfect. So before starting to decorate, remove the springform pan and peel off the parchment paper from the side of the cake. And if you want, gently transfer it to a serving platter. As I mentioned at the beginning, the garnish is a mix of fresh berries, and although this is an extremely tasty addition, it does add a fair bit of carbs to this recipe. So if you're wanting to reduce the carbs but still enjoy the cake, just serve it naked without any of the berries, or put a few berries right in the center as a decoration. To garnish, I first place and arrange the blueberries as my bottom layer. But don't bring the blueberries all the way to the end, but leave a nice perimeter of bare mousse cake. The next thing I do is I strategically place the raspberries to enhance the color and to give it a nice bright appeal. And lastly, I add the huge blackberries. Try to arrange them in such a way that every slice will have some of each of the berries. This looks really nice as it is, But the last thing that I do to enhance the garnish just a little bit more and make everything pop, and to give a hint of the other flavor in this recipe, I arrange the thin ribbons of lemon peel among the berries. This looks really great. Now I have to take a few thumbnail photos, and then I'll reward myself with a slice and enjoy it. One thing that I forgot to mention is this cake actually smells really nice. You can smell the lemon and you can smell the fresh berries, and it just has this aura of freshness about it. I love cheesecakes, don't get me wrong, but I absolutely love the contrast of the slightly tart lemon mousse, the nice sweet layer of the berry sauce, and then the light but sweet layer of the berry mousse. The mouthfeel is amazing, and the contrast of tastes and tartness and sweetness just explode in your mouth in a really good way. This is a very refreshing and tasty yogurt cake that is a wonderful dessert when you want something a little bit lighter than a classic cheesecake or a sponge cake. But one thing I'd like to recommend, between servings, keep this mousse cake in the refrigerator. It's best when it's chilled. This cake just presents so beautifully. So I hope you'll enjoy this beautiful and extremely flavorful recipe as much as we do. Thank you very much for watching my tutorial video and reaching the end of it with me. And also please check out the end links I have selected for more tasty treat ideas. I hope that you have found the video informative and that you like the no-bake berry lemon yogurt mousse cake. If you do like my video recipe and have not done so before, please subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and help my video get noticed by the YouTube algorithm by giving it a thumbs up and leaving a comment. And of course, please share the link with friends and family. Most of all, I hope you come back and check out my next video when it's posted. Until next time, stay well and have a very happy day. Cheers!